Good evening. My name's Paul Church from Clarity Stamp here in the UK. Welcome to the first craft along using some fantastic designs by Linda Williams. Thank you I'm just going to move this mouse. I'm worried that I'm going to end the stream by accident. Many of you may be expecting Barbara this evening, but after 2 fantastic days up at the TV, she's a little bit wiped out, so I decided to step in and help out. So you have my company for this evening, and I'm looking forward to sort of crafting along with everybody. So Grace is in the room with you today. Grace says she can hear me, which is perfect. So just wait, I can see we've got some viewers coming in. Now I wonder who's going to be first to say good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning. There we go, we've got the lovely James Helford in the room, and the lovely Grace. Grace is in the room, keeping an eye on us, making sure everybody behaves. And yeah, it's going to be a fun evening of crafting and sort of getting in the groove. So if you have any questions, fire away. And Grace is there to help you. We've got some of the lovely design team in the room as well. And they're sure to help if I miss out on anything. But despite the fact that Grace is in New York, we can still communicate by text. So if I do miss anything and you need to know, then Grace will pop me a text. Yep, that's all working. And yeah, we're here to help. There we go. There's a lovely Josie Davidson. Oh, it's so nice to have so many people to see. 7 o'clock, well, almost 1 minute to 7 on a Friday evening. And yeah, what's the weather like where you are? Here, and you probably can't hear it on the roof, but it's absolutely pouring with rain. So yeah, what text message from Grace. Grace says she likes the shirt. Thank you, Grace. So I've got my coffee ready. I've also got backup drinks down there as well, because we never know how long this is going to take. So yeah, how is everybody? Everybody good? I hope so. And I'm really looking forward to this evening, sharing some beautiful designs using Linda Williams' layering collection. Now, we launched these exclusively on Create and Craft back in June. And for those of you that are familiar with Groovy and the new exclusives, we did exactly the same last year with Linda's Christmas Treasures collection. So over a period of months, we released various different designs, and then we always did a craft along, so you could sort of have a play and see what to do with them. So that's tonight is the first episode of 6. Linda's been beavering away with 6 different collections. Let me show you the plates while I sort of waffle on a little bit. Okay, so let's have a look on the overhead. So these are our A4 square plates. You can see the size of my hand. And the idea behind each of the collections is that they're all about layering. So when you have a look at this first one, which is the Postbox Cheer, you've got an outer frame, you have this lovely star frame, and you can take all the different elements from each of the different plates and mix and match. And there will always be a focal point in the center. And the way in which Linda designed them, if you're familiar with our A6 square baby plates, then these are perfect size to fit in the middle. Okay, so this is the first one out of the 3 larger ones, and it will always be the same format every month. So in June, it was Christmas, taking part of the Create and Craft Christmas event, the 12 Days of Christmas. So this is the first one, the Postbox Cheer. Then moving along from that, we have Silent Night. So you can see we've got the same frame. We've got a circular frame around the outside. We have a square frame. And those of you that are familiar with the Groovy system know that you can take different elements from it. You can extend them. You can take just a little row of houses and build a card as well. And just because we're saying they're sort of Christmas, they don't have to be just for Christmas. Take the tree out. I say take the tree out, chop the tree down, And this could be a wedding card. It could be for an anniversary card, a christening, a baptism. So that's the second one. This is Silent Night. And then the third one, in each of the different collections, there will always be one that we're calling, it's like a dotted cross stitch or tapestry style. And let me bring this up close. I'm going to lift it up. It'll be easier rather than me stand up. And you can see these plates, or this particular plate, rather than having solid lines that we would trace out normally, these ones are made up of a series of dots. And these are all plotted individually because you wouldn't be able to get such natural curves using a grid. Okay, so that's the third one in the collection. And then for each of the collections, there'll also be a companion plate. And when, look, if I tilt that way, look, it looks like a Christmas tree, doesn't it? So when you look at the designs, you know exactly what Linda has done to give value for money. And the idea behind the companion plate is that there will always have a corner that you could take any of these frames and replace the tree element. Let me just grab the plate itself so we can sort of overlay it on top. So you can see I can pop that on there, and then I can take that frame instead of having the frame all the way around. Okay, so it's all about enjoying what we have and looking. And I mean, this frame here on its own, it's very sort of regal. Should we have a look at some artwork to give you some inspiration if you missed it from the TV? So let's pop the trace outs to one side. We need to put them there. So this is a piece that Linda Williams has created herself, and that's just using the dotted cross stitch. I mean, look at that. I wonder if I come in on this camera. Let's have a look. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Look, you've got that lovely Perga glitter on there. Gives it a real sparkle, doesn't it? Can't have Christmas without a little bit of sparkle. Okay, so that's that one there that Linda's created. Let's go back on the other one. Then the next one, also created by Linda. So you can see that corner, the companion plate now, and then how Linda's taken one of the other plates to finish off that frame. Now, this one, for me, just screams out pure parchment craft. So what Linda's done, she's taken that larger plate, or the one that has the Christmas rose, and instead of putting the post box and the robin in the middle, replaced it with a sentiment. The next piece of artwork is this is from Jill Askham, who's one of our latest designers to join the Clarity family. Look at that, using 2 different colors of parchment. And let me bring it in to really showcase. Look at that. You can really see that sparkle, can't you? So Jill's done a little bit of picot cutting in there to cut away the middle and then layered it up. So you can see exactly all about sort of the layering up of the different frames. We have another piece created by Linda herself, and Linda's combined 3 different plates. She's taken the circular houses and cottages, she's taken the post box from the post box chair, and then uses a dotted cross stitch tapestry in each of the corners. The next piece of artwork is by the lovely Frances. Let's bring it in on this camera here. Look at that. Look at that painting on the front. When all the samples come in, we can always tell Frances's artwork because it just sort of stands out. Each of our fantastic design team, they all have their own style. So I know straight away that this one has been created by Jane Telford. So there's no framing at all, really, when you look at this piece of artwork, because Jane has created panels and used the companion just to create the area. Okay. Combining a couple more plates. Can you guess who created this one? Go on, I bet you can. This one has been created by Frances. Okay. Now, this next piece, when I saw this, to me, this is why I fell in love with parchment craft. The beautiful monochromatic look, that lovely white work. And this has been created by Glynis. Let me bring this in on this camera. Look at that. Look at that roof. You feel as if you want to reach out and feel the cold snow just sitting on top of the roof of that church. Aren't they stunning? So that was from Glynis. Then the next piece is from the lovely James Telford again, adding colour this time. And there's so many different ways that we can add colour. And we're going to have a look at that during the course of this evening as part of the craft along. Next piece has been created by Carol Baker using different colours of parchment, but you can really show off this dotted cross stitch stroke tapestry effect. Aren't they amazing? This one here, another one from Carol Baker. No Christmas at all. Combined with some other designs in our stash, but it's that frame that goes all the way around the outside. Then we have another piece from Francis. This is using the companion plate, but look at those snowflakes or the stars just around the outside. Absolutely gorgeous. And then the final piece, another piece from the lovely Glynis, little bit of white work, little bit of colour, and some fancy cutting around the outside. Aren't they amazing? So I thought, whilst everyone was sort of putting up a chair, I thought we'd share the artwork with you, because when we go on TV, that we only have a limited time to show. And if you go to Barbara's blog, when we launched these back in June, then you'll see it. If you want to sort of, I mean, you can obviously pause this afterwards and go back and study them in more detail. But if you want to sort of look on Barbara's blog, which is barbaragreatblog.com, just go back to June and you'll see all the stunning artwork from the design team in there. Okay. Right. Okay. Are we ready? So what do we need for this craft along? Let me pop these somewhere safe. Now, if you go to our website, I'm sure Gracie will pop a link up. What we've done, we've created a download of ingredients that I'm going to use. Now, you don't need all of them. You can view this on your computer or you can download it. And you have got like a little tick list. And if there's any bits you want to get afterwards, then we've given you the product code as well to help you out. Okay, so initially what we're going to do, shall I show you what we're going to do? Shall I? Should I? Because Barb blogs about it earlier and she showed those 3 lovely pieces of artwork from Linda, and you had to tune in to see which one we was going to go for. And I thought what we'll do, although the plates are really large, we're going to go small, and it really shows the versatility of the designs. So let's have a look. This is the piece of artwork we're going to look at. Let me zoom in close now so you can really appreciate. And what we'll do is we'll deconstruct this card. Which way am I going? You think after all these years, I'd know, wouldn't you, which way to move the nozzle to come in. I'm going to come in nice and slowly. There we go. So this is a piece that Linda created, and I thought this would be fantastic for our very first craft along using this collection. Okay, now it's made up of all 3 of the larger plates. So if I show you on the different areas, so we've got the corner here using a corner of the post box. Then we've got the other corner, whoops, which is using the dotted cross stitch. Okay, and then the final little centerpiece. See, cards don't always have to be sort of big. I remember looking at this and thinking, now, goodness me, where has that church gone? And I was going all around, literally going all around the houses. Let me turn it around. All around the houses trying to find where this church was. And where did I find it? It's in the, hang on, there it is. It's in that bottom left-hand corner if you're looking at the front. There we go, look. That little bit there is a centerpiece. But you could choose any of these houses or churches or cottages to pop in the middle. Okay, so if we deconstruct and have a look at what we've done. So I've got one that Linda's completely finished. And you can see if we look at the back, so it's going to start off as a clear piece of parchment, and we're going to gradually build up the colours. And we're going to look at some white work or some ways around doing white work. And we're going to introduce all different techniques over the course of the next couple of hours, or as long as it takes. Now, on the piece that Linda's created, if I hold it down, can you see what Linda's done? She's used an embedder that are ever so popular, and it gives it that lovely sort of debossed effect and makes the design stand out. However, what you can also do, really, if I bring this in, let me bring this in here, our companion papers. Now, the companion papers are a fantastic investment. And when Barb did the TV yesterday and the day before, and she was working with inks, and she said it didn't matter what colour ink pad she went for, there would be a complementary colour within one of the companion papers. So these three colours here are taken from Toscana. And did you watch Barbara over the past 2 days? And when she was asked which was her most favourite selection, and she said it was just hard to choose, but then she opted for Toscana. So if we take a piece of artwork, let's take a white piece of card, for example. So pop that on there, like so. So let's put that on there. So the lilac colour brings out the colour there. Okay. If I take pink and pop pink underneath, it brings out the pink in the Christmas rose. If I take a lovely blue, then it brings out the blue in the background. So there's so many different sort of options that you can do in order to sort of do the matting and layering. Okay. So where are we going to get started? So have you got your ingredients list? Let me zoom back out now. Great. Okie dokie, which way am I going? There we go. Come out nice and slowly. Right. Okay. So we've got our ingredients list. So the first thing we're going to need is our plate. And the plate we're going to start off with is the Postbox chair. Okay. Let's put my ingredients list to one side. And we're also going to need an A5 piece of clear parchment. We're going to need a number 1, number 2 tool in the starter kit. We're going to need a tumble dry sheet. We're going to need some groovy tabs. And I reckon, because I'm working on the A4 square groovy plate, I reckon I'm going to go with the larger plate mate so that it gives me that larger area to work within. Okay, so that's what we're going to need to get started. Okay, there we go. I'll just pop that around there just so you can sort of see, and I will zoom out a little bit and stretch. This is good for sort of stretching. Who would have thought that you could keep fit doing a Facebook Live? Right, okay. So where's that lovely card from Linda gone? So we can, while you're getting all your bits and pieces, okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to create the frame. Now you have choices. We're going to use the Postbox chair plate to create the frame, but the size of this square, you could also use our Pico squares and groovy plate to create it as well. So it's all about sort of having options. Oh, one key thing that we really need, groovy guard. Definitely need my groovy guard. Okay. Right. And breathe. It's all about sort of chilling out in the next couple of hours and enjoying it. Who's going to be crafting along? Anybody? Or are you just going to watch? Should we see? Should we see what happens? Okay. Right, I'm all warmed up now. Vocal cords are all ready, so don't worry, I'm not going to sing. Slurp of coffee. Okay. So let's pop this to one side. So what we're going to do first of all, I'm going to attach my plate mate around the outside, and it comes with groovy tabs to hold it, like so. So it stops it moving. Because what I want to do is be able to, I don't want the parchment to move whilst we're working. Okay. Now I can go for any of the four corners. They're all exactly the same. But for me, when I'm working, I like to work in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to take my piece of A5 parchment, and I'm just going to wipe it with the tumble dry sheet. I only need to go in the middle because that's where I'm going to work. Okay. Now that I've wiped my parchment, I'm going to slide that into position, and I just want to have a look at one of these corners. Okay. Right. Need to attach it so that it doesn't move around. So a few more. You can never have too many groovy tabs. Okay, so I reckon just about there. Doesn't matter if I go on wonky, because we're going to either trim it down or pico cut around the outside. Okay, so let's attach our artwork like so. Groovy guard. Now what I want is just this corner of the plate. See, I think this is one of the great things, is that when Linda comes up with a design, you've got the whole plate and you can take it exactly how it comes, but you can also take elements of it as well. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to draw in this part of the star. So I'm using my number one groovy tool to give me a nice crisp outline like so, and I'm going to follow that line all the way, and then I'm going to do the second line just underneath. Okay, and what this is going to do, it's going to give me my guide on how big my square is going to be. Right, now what I'm going to do, I don't want to go any further than the points down here, so I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to come down and stop. So in a way, my groovy guard is acting as a barrier. Then we're going to come down again. Now I can feel some resistance on the parchment. And you know why? Because I didn't wipe this part of the parchment. I wiped in the middle. So we're going to come down and we're going to stop at that point as well. Okay. Then we're going to repeat the process. Let's put my groovy guard there. And then come along just like so. There we go. That was easy enough, wasn't it? Now the fun begins. Okay, so we're going to lift this up. See, for me, that reminds me of an old-fashioned sort of photo corner, doesn't it? But a big photo corner. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our parchment round, and then we're going to line up the lines so that it pops back into place. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can come a little bit closer. So I'll zoom in first and then I'll move the plate so it's central. Which way? See, look, I only did it a minute ago, but I still don't know which way to turn. Which way to turn, he says. Okay, I'm going to come in really close and then I'm going to move so we're in the center of the screen. Is that okay? Perfect. So we're going to repeat the process now. Okay, but what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put the centerpiece in. So we're going to go like so, and just remember to stop at the line because we don't want to go through that panel in the middle. Now this is where the fun begins. We're going to come down again like so, and I'm going to stop at that point. I'm not going to go any further. And I'm going to repeat down to there as well. And then I'm going to start here so I don't get carried away, like so. There we go. So now I've sort of created my square, but I've got gaps at the end that I need to fill in. Easy peasy. All I'm going to do now is turn it round, and let's just lift off that groovy tab, and I'm just going to line up back into that same corner, and you'll feel that it goes back into its slot, like so. Tabs to hold it in place, and then go around the corner. Ooh, slow down, round the corner, then turn our parchment round. Once you've done this once, if you want to repeat the process, it's easy peasy. It really is. Okay, so that falls back into the slot there, and we're now going to complete our square. Okay, so all we need to do now is extend these areas into the corner. Mr. Ken, it's easy peasy for you to say. It is, Ken, it is. So I'm going to use part of the lines here. I could use any of the lines, but I'm going to stick with these ones here. And it goes back into the slot, like so. And I'm just going to extend it. Turn it round. And complete the line. Okay, that is the hardest thing we will do all evening, I promise you. Okay. Excuse me. Now, if you go over the edge or get carried away, it doesn't matter because we can trim it down. This is all about sort of having a play and seeing what happens. And it's all about enjoying it as well, isn't it? That's, for me, that's what crafting is all about. So how are we getting on? Anybody completed that part? Or have you got carried away, you've gone over the edge? Don't panic, it's a piece of parchment. It really is. Right, now we can start to fill in our design. So I'm going to stick with the plate we have here, just like so. And I can take any of the four corners, but let's stick with the corner that we started in. We're going to reposition this like so. Groovy tabs definitely come into play. There we go. Now, let's have a look at the piece of artwork that Linda's created. Let's have a look at the lovely roses. And I don't know if you, let me tell you what, let's try this camera. There we go. Where am I going? There we go. There. When you look at the Christmas roses, can you see that there's no rigid line around those petals when you compare it to the, where am I going? Over here with the leaves. You can definitely see the definition of those ivy leaves. But with the roses and the berries, where am I going? Roses, this is weird doing this backwards. The roses and the berries, there's no solid line around the outside. Okay, and there's a couple of ways that we can achieve this. So let's go back on the overhead. So what I've done is, now it depends on what level you're at your parching. Okay, so what I did, I took those lovely flowers and I've traced them out in the various different tools. So you can see the number one will give you that crisp white outline. If you go to the number two tool, you get a softer line. And the reason for that is because the ball doesn't push as far into the groove. Okay. And number three is using the bigger tool, the number three from the starter kit. And then finally, you can barely see that, the number four. Now, depending on your eyesight, so I mean, I've got glasses and I could just about see that. Okay, maybe a light panel would help. But for me, if I want to do that lovely sort of white work that Linda's created, then I'm going to use my number three tool to trace out the flowers. Okay, So let's have a look. Let's move this out of the way and that piece of artwork. So I'm going to do the number 3 tool first, and I'm going to do all the flowers so that I don't get carried away. But you can use whichever one that you want to. Now, because the ball is bigger than the groove, you just need to sort of slow down, go a little bit slower. Okay, so we're going to push into the groove. I'm using the same type of pressure as if I was using the number 1. Okay, and I definitely am going a lot slower than what I would normally. Okay, so we're just going to follow the design. So have a look at the flowers within the design that Linda's created. Has anybody created anything yet using these plates? Because I'm sure many of you would have had them for a while now. Have you shared them on our Groovy Worldwide page? And I've missed them. See, look, even my voice is slowing down now. You'll be pleased to hear. Sometimes I get really excited about parchment craft and doing what we're doing. So there we go. So we've got those ones here. Let's come over here. So just take it nice and slow. Easy does it. I think this is perfect for a Friday evening when the weather outside is terrible. I'm also going to do the little berries, like so, with the number 3 tool. There we go. It doesn't take, and because we're only using a corner of the design, it really, for me, shows how versatile the designs are. Okay, where else am I going? I'm going to leave the, am I going to put the dots in? Yeah, let's put the little dots in the center of the flower, just like so. We can go back in afterwards and make them whiter if we need to. So let's go back over here. So, question for you all at home. Who belongs to any of our Clarity Craft clubs? I'm sure many of you tuning in do. We have several fantastic clubs. We've got Groovy, we've got Stamp, and we've got Stencil. And for those of you that are club members, probably, well, looking at some of these names popping up in the chat, I've recognized many of those names. We currently have a half-price club member sale, and a lot of the products that I'm using this evening, if you're a club member, half price. Groovy Guard, half price. Parchment, half price. So it's definitely that, for me, being part of the clubs, that's one of the great benefits of many that you get. The twice yearly half price club member sale. So yeah, definitely. I see the lovely Grace has popped a link up to the craft clubs, so you can go and check those out if you want to. But looking at the names in this room, I know many of you are already club members. So let's take a piece of card and pop that underneath so we can see. So you can see how soft and delicate that is. Okay. So now let's go in and build up the rest of the design. And to do that, I'm going to go back to my number 1 tool. Okay. Groovy Guard comes back into play. Now I have to remember where I've gone over with the number 3. But can you see the difference between the number 1 and the number 3? Okay. Just need to have a little think about what you're doing. But if you're new to Groovy, then you can do everything that I'm doing this evening with your number 1 tool. Barb always describes sort of being on a groovy bus journey. And the first part of that bus journey, you're probably sick and tired of me saying this because many of you in the room already know this. However, I still like to say it because it's a good story. It's the groovy bus journey. Stop number 1 is tracing out the artwork. Okay. And it is so easy. If you can hold a pen, you can get the beautiful crisp white line every single time. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll get that crisp line immediately every time. It's just something that you do. Okay. So, and you'll get the feel of how much pressure to put on. You don't have to get that line straight away. You could go over several times. So I can go over very lightly to start with, and then I can keep going. Look, watch. If I keep going like this, I'm not going to go through the parchment however many times I go over. Okay. Oh, nearly, Mr. Church. Let's have a look where we're going. Don't want to do that bit. Ooh. It doesn't matter, does it? If I'd done that one brighter than the others, it's not the end of the world, is it? Okay. So let's go in. Are we having fun this evening? I hope so. I am. I'm really enjoying myself. I think Friday evening, pouring with rain outside. I mean, where's that sunshine gone? Our postman here at Clarity headquarters, he said the rain was all my fault. He said, because since I've been wearing shorts to work, it hasn't stopped raining. Possibly true, but I don't think my wearing shorts has any effect on the weather at all. Have we got any newbies in the room? I'm sure we have. If we have, it's lovely to have your company. It's lovely to have everybody's company. You don't need to be a newbie, do you? Every now and again, I keep looking up at the names that are appearing. Jane says the sun's gone on holiday to Central Europe. Yes, I saw that on the news. It's terrible, isn't it? Well, not terrible. Well, it is. It's so hot over there. Let's hope it sort of stays over there. I don't think we could cope with it over here. I mean, we struggle when the sun comes out, don't we? We've got a newbie, Nick Moore. Welcome. Is this the first time to a craft along? If it is, check out our YouTube page. There are hours and hours and hours of tutorials. All of the Shack episodes that Barbara does on Facebook every Monday, and YouTube every Monday live at 10 o'clock. Then we've got Groovy Tuesdays that I do every Tuesday. But there's moments of clarity on there. There's tutorials that Barbara did back in the day, and they still stand the test of time. They really do. So Mary McDermott, hey Paul, love this design. Question for you about craft clubs. Can I join in if I'm in the USA? If so, how much for the club price and shipping? Absolutely, Mary. You can join. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. We don't exclude anybody. If you, Grace will pop a link up for you for the craft clubs. If you click on there, and you'll find all the information on there. Because you're in the USA, it will automatically give you all that information. But if you've got any further questions, lovely Grace is in New York, so she's there to help. answer any questions. All right. Yeah, anywhere in the world, ordering, clubs. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So we've nearly finished this corner, and I'm going a little bit slow because I'm enjoying the process. And hopefully you are too. Okay, should we have a look, see whether I've got everything? So let's just move this Groovy tab away. And let's take a piece of black card and pop it underneath. Yeah. Can you see the difference there? And we're still working on the back of the parchment with the design. Okay. There we go, Mary. Grace has popped her email address up there for you, so you can always reach out direct. And Grace is more than happy to help anybody out. Okay, so we've got our first corner done. That's not taken too long, is it? Not at all. Don't know where my voice went high pitched then. So now we're going to swap out this plate and we're going to bring in the dotted cross stitch tapestry style plate. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fill this corner in. Now positioning, okay, I'm going to do the obvious thing, and I'm going to take this straight line and I'm going to line up, oh, you can't see, sorry. I'm going to take the straight line from this frame, see it's like a double one, and I'm going to put that row of dots in the middle. Okay, I'm not going to do those dots, but it helps me with my positioning. Just like so, so that I know it's nice and straight. Groovy tab, hold it down. I'm going to use another one down here, and I'm going to put another one over here. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the number 2 tool that has a little ball on it. Now I asked Linda when she was making the samples, which did she think would give a better impression, and she said the number 2. You can use the number 1, but number 2 is perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now, and she said I could cheat as well. Okay, so first off, let's do these little corners here first, just like so. Look at that. Crisp white dots, and it doesn't matter how hard you press, you're not going to go through the parchment. Now if I was trying to do this without a groovy plate, I would definitely have gone through the parchment. Okay, so now we're going to press, this is quite therapeutic as well, into those dots, and we're going to do all the dotty work first. Okay, so we're going to do all the intricate elements, well, say intricate, all the fancy swirly parts first. Okay, and then sometimes people say to me, well, where do you start? Where do you go? Top, bottom, left, right? I just go wherever I want to go. I've never really thought about, do I start at the top? Do I start at the bottom? I suppose because I don't need to think about what I'm doing, because the thinking's been done for me, I can go wherever I want. Okay, so I'm going to cheat in a minute. I'll show you in a minute. Let's do all these little fancy bits first. I know, cheating with parchment craft. How dare I? Oh dear. How are we getting on? I see we've got lots of chat in the room this evening. Here to keep you entertained for the next couple of hours. There we go. Look at those white dots. So, I mean, you could just take this little element here of the design and repeat it. So Elspeth I'm a first timer tuning in on a craft along, watching on YouTube through my TV, thinking of joining the club so I can buy some groovy stuff half price to get started on my groovy journey. Elspeth, once you join the club, I mean, we have our club members sale on at the moment, the half price sale, but being part of the club, it's a 12-month subscription, which you can pay monthly or you can pay in one go, depending on your budget. Okay. Now, as part of being on the club, there's so many different benefits. Throughout the year, twice a year, we have our half price club member sale. Then each month is like Christmas. Okay. Because I've got one here. Once I finish doing this, we'll have a little break and I'll show you what you get part of being in the club. But I'll talk about it while I'm doing it as well. So every month you get a fantastic little baby groovy plate designed by Linda Williams. You get a double-sided concertina project sheet, one of which is done by Linda and the other one by Jane Telford. You get, when you join, you get a folder to keep it all in. If you belong to one club, then you get 10% off any purchases during the course of the year. Okay. You can join 2 clubs, you can join 3 clubs. If you belong to all 3, then you get 15% off. So that's sort of throughout the year on any of the products on our website. Okay. Then, so you get your groovy plate, you get your project sheet, you get a newsletter from Barb telling you what's going on at Clarity, what's coming up, gives you the heads up on any retreats that we have going, any open days. So club members are normally the first to find out all that information. Okay. And it's all about sort of sharing the knowledge. It really is. Okay, where am I going? I'm going to carry on down to here. Right. Before I do these, I'm going to swap over to the number 1 tool and I'm going to do the solid lines. So we can have a look at these design elements as they are. Okay. I thought this was a really good project to do as a craftsman because it's smaller. Rather than taking one of the larger plates and just tracing it out exactly as it comes. Because you can do that at home yourself, can't you? You can take the plate and make a beautiful card exactly how it comes. But I thought this piece that Linda created was a great way of sort of showcasing how you can take elements of the designs. Where am I going now? So I'm being distracted by the messages on the screen. Here we go. Right. So now let's have a, oh, let me put those little dots in here. Completion. But the thing is, you can see, so now, so I get so excited when I'm doing this. It's terrible, isn't it? Okay, so let's put a piece of card underneath. So look, see how you can just take different parts. This little bit here would be fantastic, just in a corner. So now, when it comes to the stars or the snowflakes, okay, you've got some options. If you want to enjoy the process, carry on with the number 2 tool, just like so. Okay, so I'm going to do, let me just do these bits here. And I had permission from Linda to do it. I've got written proof from Linda Williams herself to say that you can cheat. Okay, so there's no parchment police around here. It's all about enjoying it. Yeah, right, okay. So we've done that. Okay, so you can see, I mean, it looks like a little butterfly, doesn't it? So now we are going to cheat. It's not cheating. I'm going to take my Groovy Guard. I'm going to put the tool at the top and I'm going to drag down. See? I could have done it on those ones, but I would, because I like to go from the top to bottom, it just means just turning the plate around. So when you look at the finished piece of artwork, it'll be hard to determine which ones you put in individually and which ones you stroked, so to speak. Okay, so we're gonna, it's just that sound. Can you hear it? It's a fantastic sound. And you're not going to rip the parchment at all. It's great, isn't it? I know. Little things. Little things. Who's done it this way before? Anybody? I'm sure some of us at home would have done it this way as well. Jane Telford, talk to me. Do you do this as well? What about Josie? Do you do this? Ken does it. Oh, thank goodness for that. Thank you, Ken. You saved the day. Margaret Crane has done it as well, Maggie. Excellent. Ah, yes. Oh, I feel so much happier now. I'm not going to get shouted at. I wouldn't get shouted. Josie Davidson, are you telling me you've never done it? No, you would. Why would you? Queen of the grids. Ladies and gentlemen, in the room we have, not the physical, we've got Josie Davidson. And the name you may be familiar if you're a customer of Clarity. Josie is the queen of grids. Her designs are exquisite and she makes the art of lace work so easy and so achievable. So I'm just waiting for Josie to say that she has really done it, but I bet she hasn't. So yeah. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to spin this plate around so that I can do the same process on the downwards. And it's for me personally, it's easier to go top to bottom like that. Now, if you're doing this at home, then it's entirely up to you how you wish to do it, whether you wish to do it individually or whether you wish to do it top to bottom. Okay, so let's just move along. See, look, the Groovy Guard really focuses the area. Okay. Maggie Craner's favourite sound is a lovely click from the snipping of Pico. Oh dear. Now, if you are doing this one by one, don't worry. I'm going to slow down in a minute because what I'm going to do, I'm sure I've got some club issues here that I can share with our friends that don't belong to the club and looking for some more information. Okay, let's lift this off and let's reveal our corner that we've created. Okay, I've got groovy tabs everywhere now. Let's move that out of the way. There we go. None the wiser of whether you've done them individually or whether you've done them as a line. Barbara Gray, she's dragged the tool as well. Excellent. Perfect. See, I knew I'd be all right. I knew. But it's very satisfying, isn't it? and that sound. Yeah, brilliant. There we go. Whew, safe, still got a job. But you can't tell the difference. I can't remember which ones I did individually now and which ones I sort of dragged the tool down. Can you? Of course you can't. Right, okay. While you're looking at that, I'll tell you what, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. See if you can get, for those of you that are watching on TV, go and stand in front of the TV, up close, and see if you can see any difference. I can't even remember where it was now. And while you're having a look at that, I'm sure in this studio here, I've got some back issues. Of course I have. I knew I would. It's because I haven't tidied up, that's why. Okie doke. For what? Summer holiday, short sleeve shirt, glasses on my head, not sunglasses though. Right, so for those of you who are doing it one by one, this is your opportunity to catch up. And what I'm going to do, we're going to have a look at some back issues of our new design club. Let me just come in on the overhead and zoom back out a little bit. Oops, sorry, too fast. Now, these are some additions from 2019 that I just happen to have. And so you get a lovely folder, a groovy folder with index hours to say 2019. And each month you will receive, let me just show you, a A6 square baby groovy plate that is exclusive to the club for a period of time. And then you get this fantastic step-by-step concertina. So there's always a minimum of 2 different projects within there. And when you open it up, you're guided through. So this one was done back in 2019 by the lovely Dee Paramore. You get a list of ingredients of what you need, like so. And then you've got both a pictorial and a written instruction on how you can achieve the same result. Okay. And then when we come to the end, you then have different shopping lists for the different projects with the product codes and the prices. Now, the prices will have changed from 2019. If you join today, it doesn't mean that you can't buy all of the previous episodes. You can. That's one of the great things. And then we have another project here. Look at that. This one's by Maria. And then we're just going to guide through it. So this is using some of our designer parchment. And the designer parchment, if you're a club member, is half price as well. So instead of being £24.99, it's £12.49. I had a brain freeze then. Oh dear. Okay, so that's just one of 12 that you would get by being a member for 12 months. Let's have a look. I'm just going to flick through just to show you a couple of different projects. And you can see they're all numbered, covering different techniques. This was just the one that I just happened to have in the room. Make big cards, small cards. The designs are just exquisite. I mean, who'd have thought using those leaves with the lovely lily there as well. So it covers all different occasions. Oh, we've got a lovely bride. Somebody was asking for a bride for some wedding cards. I'll have to remember who that was. I mean, all of the previous editions are all on the website. And you can see the various different techniques, whether you're brand new to Groovy, you can just do what you want to it. Okay. And then you've got a whole compendium of knowledge, and you can look at the design and say, right, well, not necessarily into elephants, but I love this frame. Then you could put something else in the middle. Okay. So that was for, apologies, I've forgotten who was asking about the clubs in America. But I thought that's a lovely, gives a little breather for those of you that are doing all those dots individually. A chance to catch up if you didn't want to cheat. Cheating. What's cheating? The way that I look at it, if I want to get from this side of the room or this side of the office to the other side, I can walk or I could get on a bike. And bike just means I'm going to get there quicker. I mean, I haven't got a bike in the office, but you know what I mean. So it's all about having those options. There are certain sort of rules is not the right word. It will come to me. To get from one place to another, there's sort of like a sequence. And but no one's going to say, well, I'm glad no one's going to say, you've got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So let's have a look at putting the design in the middle. All right. You could put any design in the middle. I could take some of the little dotted village and pop that in the middle if I wanted to. Now, let me explain something. I'm going to come in really close on the center of this particular plate. Okay, which way am I going? I'm going to come in slowly. I'll try not to, especially if you're watching on TV, all of a sudden be, whoa. Okay. Look at the detail on this dotted cross stitch tapestry type of effect. Okay. And I don't know if you can notice, but there's no way that you could get that type of effect using a basic grid. So all of these little dots have been placed specifically to create, you wouldn't get that natural curve of a hill. Okay, so the amount of time that Linda's put into her design really showcases, and the dots are different sizes as well. The dots on the outer one are bigger than the dots on the center. Okay. But I just wanted to, I thought it'd be useful just to show you that. You can see my reflection. Let me sit back. And every month for the next 5 months, one plate out of the set of 3 large plates will always be this type of effect, the sort of dotted cross stitch stroke tapestry effect. Okay. But I digress, because what we're going to do is take, so we've used part of this plate, we've used, let me zoom back out now. I need to get a remote control for this. Hang on. It'd be easier, wouldn't it? But it keeps me fit, stretching. Okay. So we've used a corner of this design. We've used a corner of this design. And guess what? We're going to use a corner of this design. Now, which corner was it? It was it that corner? Yeah, it was that corner. Okay. So in comes the plate mate. Isn't it funny? Just by using a corner from each of those plates that we can create something as elegant as this. Okay. Right. So what do I want? Do I want the church? Do I want the cottages? There's another church there, a different type of church. But let's go with this bit here. Okay, I reckon that's where we're going to go. So let me have a looky. So I reckon, I mean, I can put it anywhere, couldn't I? I'm going to put it there though. I'm going to try and replicate Linda's piece as closely as possible. Groovy guard. Perfect. I'm on the right side, yeah. Right, glasses back on. And all we're going to do, I'm just going to stick with the number 1 tool for this part. just so that we can see a difference. Okay, just like so. There we go. Look, even those tiny little windows. It is amazing. It always amazes me sometimes that the amount of detail that a plate has, that it can be picked up with ease. Okay, so I'm gonna go in. Make sure we've got another little window up there. Put the roof on the side. Put the tree. I'm just gonna put the tree there. I mean, if you didn't want the tree in there, you don't have to. No, weird that I just haven't completed that tree. I've just jumped over it. It's because I saw I hadn't done the windows. There we go. Doesn't take long, does it? Okay, question for everybody that's watching. If you're doing this at the same time, am I going too fast? Or am I at the right pace? Let me know. Because I just get carried away. And because I've been doing it for a while, I just go on to automatic. So if I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay, we'll just put that little star up there. Got a little cross on the top. Okay. So that is all the tracing out we're going to be doing this evening, because now we're going to be having a look at some other different techniques. Okay. Let's pop this over there out the way. Right. The wheels on this chair need oiling. I nearly ends up on the floor then. Right, it's another slurp of coffee. Oh dear. So now when we have a look at Linda's piece of artwork, it's blue. Okay. Flowers are white. We've got green, we've got lovely blue in the background. So what we're going to do first, let me see, what should we do first? Should we do a little bit of white work? I'm going to show you a couple of different options. And again, this has been signed off by the lovely Linda Williams. So you have choices. You know, earlier on I was talking about the bus journey. And the first part of that bus journey, the first stop, is tracing the artwork. And because it gives you the confidence that you can achieve something like this so easily, you then want to learn something else. Now, that may be the colouring, it may be the white work, it may be the picot cutting. Whichever sort of route you want to take next is entirely up to you. But the next step initially that I learned was white work. Okay. Now, when I first started doing Groovy, and I've said this many times, I struggled with white work. Okay. I'm impatient, I'm too heavy-handed. So when I tried parchment craft traditionally all those years ago, I spent hours getting a piece of artwork like this and then going on too heavy and putting a hole in it. And I thought, why have I just spent 2-3 hours doing that and now I've ruined it? So I stopped doing it. So I had to teach myself when we started to learn the white work technique back in the early days. I remember in Barbara's studio above her garage at home, and we'd been I remember once we'd gone further on that bus journey. It was the picot cutting, but I'll tell you about that story later. And it was the white work, and I'm thinking, oh, I just want it white. I want it white straight away. But that is where you have to learn a little bit of patience. Okay. So my little bit of patience was taking a white pencil and colouring in the back. Okay. It looked like white work, but it wasn't. And I can still hear Barbara saying things. If you're going on TV, you need to sort of nail white work. You can't go on TV and colour it in with a white pencil. I said, but I can't do it. I can't, because I wanted to get the finished result. Like you do when you stamp out a card and you colour it in, you get that result quite quickly. But to get that lovely white work effect, it does require patience and a little bit of skill as well. Okay. So I had to learn to slow it down. Okay. And I'm happy now that I can do it normally, but I can also cheat as well. And I've also had Linda Williams tell me I can cheat. So let's have a look at some white work on the back of the rosette. If I bring in the piece that Linda's created, now these stages were created, stepped up for me by the lovely Lynn Jackson, who works really closely. I know you haven't got feely vision, but I can definitely feel that they're embossed. Okay, and I turn that over. And these are slightly embossed. Okay, not as embossed as much as that, just a light embossing. So what you can do is you can combine a little bit of traditional embossing and also white pencil. Okay, so let's do a little bit of embossing. I'm going to take my A4 black mat that comes in the starter kit, and we're now going to work on the soft squidgy side. Okay, where's my work gone? Okay, who's hidden it? Oh, there it is. Oh dear. Okay, and we're going to work on the back still. And to give a little bit of resistance, I'm going to put a piece of poly bag. So one of the bags that your plates come in. Okay, I'm going to pop that on there. Now, if you've only got the tools that come in the starter kit, then we would start with the biggest ball tool, which is number 4. However, Linda's best friend is the number 6 Pergamano ball tool. Okay. If you're a club member, it's half price if you haven't got this in your stash. Okay, so let me just show you the difference between using the number 6 ball tool and the number 4 ball tool. Okay, so let me see, where am I going to start? I reckon let's start at the beginning, shall we? So what I'm going to do, I tell you what I'm going to do. What are you going to do, Paul? I'm going to take a spare piece of parchment to start with. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, let me just quickly trace out. I know I digress slightly. Let me just take one of these flowers here. Do I need a flower? No, let me just take a straight line. Come on, Paul, sort it out. Okay. I just want that. I just want a straight line. Okay. Let's go with the number 1 tool so we can see that nice, crisp white line. Okay. So imagine this is the edge of your flower or your petal or your leaf. Okay. When you're working with the larger ball tool, when I first started doing it, let me pop that underneath. I'm going to see if I can come in over now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I wonder whether, oh, come on, that one, will that show? Hang on, where am I? No, let's do it. Stick to the overhead, and I'm going to zoom in. Ooh. So live TV. Where am I going? I'm going in. Okay, zoom in slowly, and then I'll move the artwork. Woo! Okay. I know I digress slightly, but I think it's useful to show. Okay. Now, the ball tool, compared to the line, is big, isn't it? Okay. Compared to if I was using the number 4 tool on there. Okay. So if I'm holding the number 4 ball tool here, What I used to think that you had to do was you would start, if I'm going to do white work here on the top part, that you would start just inside that line. Okay, I'm going to go on really heavy just to show you what happens. Okay, if you line up the edge of the ball tool with that line, what happens is that you get a gap in between. Okay, so with a larger ball tool, if I put the edge of the ball on that line there and I go out, I'm just doing this, you don't do it like this, but I just wanted to show, see how much of a big space you get. Okay, so the idea is you take the center of the ball onto the line, like so, and then you push out like so. Okay. So now there's no gap in between your outline of your flower or your leaf or whatever you're adding white work to. And it'd be the same with the number 4 ball tool. The middle of that ball is on that line. Okay, so when I turn it over, there's a big gap there, little gap there, but no gaps there. Okay, so this is the number 6 Pergamano ball tool, okay, which is Linda's best friend. And it has the number, where we go, the number on the end, just like so. So little things like that can really make a difference for when you're doing your white work. Now I've gone on really heavy just to show that effect. If you was doing this like we're going to do on the flower, I'm going on very, very lightly. You can just about, it's like putting an undercoat down, like grey work. And I'm just slowly moving along that line. So, but I mean, what you could do to help, take your groovy guard so that you know, let the edge of the ball tool hit the groovy guard, especially if you're doing like a straight line. Okay, and then you can see now if I turn this over, probably may not be able to see, but it's very, very faint. And the idea is that you would do layers of it. So you would do this layer and let that rest for a couple of hours overnight. The longer you leave it, the more it will bounce back and the whiter the next layer will become. So this is for me my learning of my patience. Okay, but it's worth it. It really is taking that time to be patient. Okay, I know it's hard. I find it hard as well. But if you want a result like that, then isn't it worth it? Okay. So we obviously haven't got days to build it up to this level of whiteness that Linda's created, because we haven't got any sort of resting time during these live hours. So we're going to do a combination. Okay. So if I bring in my artwork, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a very, very light layer. Can you see that? Yeah. I'm going to do a very, very light layer on all of the petals. Okay. Now, some people prefer to go bottom to top, away from them. Some people prefer to come towards them. Now, when you're doing this, if you want to get sort of more of a natural look, the idea is that when you start at the tip here and you push away, you lift off. So imagine my finger here is, see the line in my finger, that's the edge of the parchment. So the ball tool is starting there, and as I move in towards the middle of the parchment, then I'm lifting off. It's like an aeroplane taking off very steeply. Or striking a match. Okay, So all we're going to do now is just very gently put a layer of white line. I'm just going to do one, okay, because otherwise we'll definitely be here till midnight tonight. If I do it on one, then you'll get an idea so that you can do it on the others if you choose to. Okay, so yeah, you can see that, can't we? Okay, and I'm turning my work to me so it feels comfortable. Okay, and then we're going to go in there, and then we're going to come over here, and we're just, it really is, it's like putting, see, it looks lovely, doesn't it? Okay, we're going to turn it around, and then we're going to come in this way, and then, see, I've gone against myself now. I'm coming towards me. It's because I couldn't bother to turn it around, but you know what I mean, don't you? Okay, so when we turn it over, see, I mean, even that very soft, gentle undercoat makes a difference, doesn't it? Let's turn it that way, because that doing my head, playing with my head with that house on its side. But look, just very, very soft and subtle. I wonder if I put a piece of coloured paper underneath. Let's have a look. Not so good. Probably need a darker colour. Let's have a look at my Toscana. See, I don't really want black, but I want something darker to see if we can sort of see. There we go. So you can definitely see where we've put that undercoat down. Okay. So if you wanted to continue the process of building that up, then you would do all your white work on that layer, then do your white work on your house if you choose to, and then possibly that's as rested enough that you could go back in and put another layer on. Now, I'm sure if Linda was in the room, she would say that that was quite a few different layers. Okay. And then that's why Linda is Linda. But you can still get a lovely result as well. So, okay, so we've got a question from the lovely Grace. Let's have a look what this question is. Okay, so a question from Lindsay. All right, let's. Good evening, Lindsay. How do you stop making white work stripy? Any tips? Okay, right. So if I go back to my practice piece on here, if you're, depends on the size of the area you're working on. I mean, this area here, like these lovely flowers, definitely worth investing in the number 6 ball tool. Okay, if I was doing the little berries, then the number 4 groovy tool would be fine for that. Okay, so in order to stop getting sort of, I'm guessing you sort of like you're going along, what it's possible is that you're moving too fast along the line and you're going too heavy, because where I've gone on really heavy there, it'll be really hard now to get rid of those stripes. So the idea, what you could do is try with your finger, or actually your groovy guard may be better, and then let's do it on this line here. Now it depends which way whether you prefer to go left to right or right to left. I'm going to go this way, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to and I'm slowly moving the groovy guard. Okay, but because I'm using the larger ball tool, I'm less likely to get stripes. Okay, and what I can do, I'm applying, and now I'm gently going back away. Now, if I'm using a smaller ball tool, okay, for me, that's when I'm more likely to get stripes because it's a smaller ball. So if you go really fast, like so, you've got those stripes. But if you take it slow, like that. So what's happening is my voice is slowing down, but also the groovy guard is sort of acting, it's sort of helping. Now I have got some stripes there, okay, so then all I would do is I would just gently go back, and I've sort of filled them in, okay. So it's sometimes it's about the size of the ball tool and the speed in which you're moving the tool across the parchment. Okay, so I hope that helps. Give it a go. Just practice like I'm doing on a scrap piece of parchment and see what happens. If you just slow down a little bit as you're moving the ball tool across. Okay. Right. Okie dokie. What we're going to do next. So now, let's go to the hard side. Let's get rid of that mat. We'll go. So let's have a look at this flower where I've put my base down already. Okay. Now, before I do the next step, what I want to do is introduce some blue to the parchment on the back. Okay. Excuse me. So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can, you can buy blue parchment and take the color out, but because we're working with clear parchment, we're going to introduce the blue. Now, as I say, a couple of different ways of doing it. One of which is using our Pergolina B pencils. Also half price in our club member sale if you need to. They're also available individually as well. So if you've got some that you use a lot, you can get them individually as well. Okay, just saying. So we could use our Pergolina pencils, or we could, I've started to use our Dorso crayons quite a bit recently. If you've been following me in Groovy Tuesday, we've been doing some fantastic colouring in with the Dorso crayons, and we had some great tips from Glynis on how to apply it. And earlier today, when I was answering the phones, taking orders, I spoke to Margaret Jeffrey, and she was telling me if you wanted to sort of colour a larger piece of parchment, rather than, which is what I've been doing, is sort of holding it like a pen and gently putting the colour on and spreading it out, then they used to remove the outer part of the crayon and then use the whole length of the crayon flat across there to do it. Now, I did have to giggle the other day because when I was using the Dorso crayons, the lovely Pat Hoskins was in the room. And she was saying, because the way that I've seen dorsing done, which is where you apply colour to a larger area with the crayons, was using a tissue, which we'll have a look at in a moment. And Pat was saying during the chat that another way of doing it is cotton wool buds. And just the thought of cotton wool buds, it sends a shiver. You know, like sometimes polystyrene for some people or foam, cotton wool buds, it just sends that shiver down. So Pat said what they also used to do was they would take the cotton wool balls and they'd put them in a pair of tights, a clean pair of tights, and then use that as an applicator as well. So it's amazing, isn't it, the way that different people use the same product but in different ways to apply it. And because I don't know what the rules are, so to speak, and I'm just going from what I've learned or what I've seen. And to me, a crayon is you sort of just scribble it on and then you blend it in and you get some lovely colour options. So it was great to talk to Margaret earlier today. And obviously for Pat's Hoskins top tip with cotton wool balls and an old pair of tights. See, upcycling was done all those years ago. Upcycling, recycling. Okay. So I'm going to stick with the pencils. And I also, who was it I spoke to earlier? Maybe Margaret as well. She said that she knew she had the Dorso crayons. Apologies if it wasn't Margaret. And she said she put them somewhere safe and she couldn't find them. So because they were half price in the club member sale, she treated herself to more. There you go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the pencils. Okay, so we're using the B pencils, and all I'm going to do is take that colour. I'm just using the sides of the pencil, and I'm just lightly scribbling on the back. Okay, and I'm going to go all over the work, even where I've done my white work, because it really doesn't matter. What I don't want to do, I don't want to go on with the tip of the pencil because it'll be harder to move. Let me grab a white piece of card. See, I don't want to do that. I want to use the sides of the pencil, and I'm going to go over the edges. I don't care. I really don't care. Okay, so I'm just putting some colour down like so. Okay. La-da-da-da-da-da. This could be any colour, but we are going with the blue. Right, okay. So now that I've done that, I'm going to take a spot-on sponge and I'm going to take some lovely citrus-scented Dorso oil, like so. I'm going to pop some on my spot-on sponge, just a few drops. And then I'm going to take a tissue, which is how I was shown, because let me zoom out a little bit, hang on. Because believe it or not, I don't have any cotton wool buds or tights here in the office. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we've taken the tissue, we're going to fold it in half, and you just keep folding it until you get to a sort of a manageable size. And then I'm going to turn it over to become a point. Now you can use tissue or you can use cotton wool buds in a pair of tights, or you can also use a spot-on sponge as well. And how do I know that? I know that because when I was doing a demo on TV, I forgot the tissue. So I used a spot-on sponge. Okay. And as Jane just sort of mentioned up there as well in the chat, if you wipe your parchment first with a drop of Dorso oil, it helps with the blending as well. It puts like a, you know how we put that undercoat down with the white work? It acts as the same way as that. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of oil, a tiny little bit. Now let's have a look over here to see what happens if I take a white piece of cloth. If I've got too much oil on there, then all it's going to do is take the colour away. But we can reintroduce the colour again. We can build up the layers of colour. Okay, and when it starts to stop moving, I mean, look, there's loads of colour on here. Just turn your tissue the other way because there's plenty of Dorso oil on the other side as well. Okay, let's take a little bit more and we're just going to blend. If you don't want to do this, then you could use blue or green or red parchment. You could use designer parchment. Okay, and all we're doing here is just creating a soft colour in the background. Okay, there we go. Oh, too much oil there. It smells lovely as well. It really does. And I'm not worried you're thinking, oh, but what about all the white? And it doesn't matter. Right, definitely needs some more colour on. So let's go a little bit more heavier with the colour. It's better to go on light first, and then you can start to build up the colour. Dorso crayons are definitely a lot quicker because it's crayon. Okay, so now there we go. So we're now starting to blend that colour. You can mix your colours. I could go back on with the dark blue. I could go on with a red to change the colour as well. But what I want is I just want to take the whiteness away from the parchment. Okay. And you're probably thinking, what is he doing? It just looks, and it does, doesn't it? It looks horrible. But it's the front that we're looking at. Okay, so we've got that now. So I need a little bit more blending down here. Okay. Let me show you with, I need a spot-on sponge. I had loads from here earlier. Where are they gone? I know. Bear with. There we go. Never too fast having a spot-on sponge. Okay, so I've got a nice dry one now. So what I'm going to do, you know how when Barb's working with this sort of like stencil, she's pounding the colour in, turn it into sort of like a mushroom type. Okay, I'm just going to dip it in there, and then see, for me, I prefer the spot-on sponge. It just feels smoother, if you know what I mean. Okay. Woo, steady does it. Steady, Eddie. A little bit more oil. So give it a go. If you've got some spot-on sponges, maybe you've got some old ones that you just got to keep dotting up and with your oil. Okay. Excuse me. So now we've got a very sort of soft, subtle. I mean, if I put the blue underneath there, that helps to enhance it. That's it. Oh no, that's horrible. Not nice at all. So, okay. Let's make it a little bit darker, just so that you can see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with the Dorso crayons. Who's got children or grandchildren that colour in like that? Or is it just me that colours in like this? See, now I'm using my spot-on sponge. But can you see the difference? How much quickly I can get a really nice colour. And I think that's why I've been experimenting with the Dorso colours recently, because I always forget about them, because my go-to is always the pencils, because for me they're sort of like that safety net that if you make a mistake you can rub out. Well, you can do exactly the same with the Dorso crayons. So where I've gone over the lines, I can rub it out as well. Okay, so there we go. There's definitely, look at that, big difference between that and the pencils. So it depends what you've got in your stash and what you want to do to build it up. Okay, so I've put colour over the whole of the back of that piece of artwork, but what I want now is for the white to show. Okay, so if I'd done the white work in a more of a traditional method, that would definitely be a lot whiter, that little rose it was working on. But what I'm going to do now is, see, safety, eraser pencil. So the eraser pencil comes in our Pergamano colouring accessories kit. You get the mix mats, you get this Dorso oil, you get blending nibs, you also get the double-ended eraser as well. So where this is going to be snow, for example, I can take the eraser pencil and remove that colour. Okay. So where I want it to be white, so for example, on these lovely flowers, the Christmas roses, we're going to take out the blue. Okay. Now, don't wipe it with your hand and don't blow, because you're likely to spit on your work. Brush. Get rid of the dust with a brush. Okay. Is there anyone still in the room, or is it just me? Is it just me and you, Grace? Is anyone else in the room? I'm sure. Right, so this is the one that I did that base of white work on with the number 6 ball tool. So you can definitely see now as I take that colour out. So what we're doing really is I'm just concentrating on one area. Okay. Glad to see that people are still there. It's lovely still to have your company. It really is. So, okay. I bet you've just got me switched on with the volume down. And so now I've taken that colour out. So if I put a piece of white card behind, look, I mean, they just look like blobs at the moment, don't they? They don't look like anything at all because it's the white on white, but you can see how I've taken the colour out. Okay. So the tree, I don't want a blue Christmas tree, so I can take out the blue from there. So you can decide, you can put colour in, you can take colour out. And it's the same with our coloured parchment. So for example, if you've used, let me have a look. I'm sure I've got some here in my stash. Just bear with for a moment. I'm sure I've got a really lovely, oh, what colour is this? Hang on. Excuse the rustling. I'm just going through my stash of parchment. Hang about, he says. See, this is, oh. It's right, no one's harmed in the rustling of the paper. Right, so say for example, I think this is the petrol blue parchment. Okay, so this is the lovely, some of our coloured parchment. Also in the half price member sale. Okay. So with our coloured and designer parchment, those of you in it, it has two sides. You've got a shiny side and then you have a more matte side. So when you're tracing out a design, you need to have the shiny side facing you. Okay. So let me just take, so this is the, I'm sure this is the lovely sort of smoky petrol blue. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let me just take something here. I just need a line or something just to trace out to show. So if, say for example, rather than use clear parchment, I'm not into the colouring so much just yet, and I want to make it easy for myself. I've got loads of Christmas cards I need to make. So I'm going to top up on my coloured parchment, on my designer parchment, and job done. Okay, so let me see. If I take, let me just why am I going right in the middle? Oh, come on, Paul. Okay, let's just do this little flower here. So if I trace on the back, like so, see, this is the magic of our parchment. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I had a light panel with the dark parchment, definitely makes a difference. Light panels also half price in the club member sale. Okay, so turn it over. I mean, look at that. Beautiful, crisp white artwork. And it looks so dramatic on coloured parchment. Look. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, the purpose of what I'm doing with what I'm doing, so to speak, is if I take, oh, I've got everything out of the box today. If I take my eraser pencil now, and definitely you want the white eraser pencil to take it out quickly. Well, not quickly, but take it out, yeah, quickly. Then watch, brush, don't swipe. White bit of card. So now when I turn it over, look, I've got white work on coloured parchment. How easy is that? So easy. So easy. Okay. Right. So let's get back. Where was I? Right, okay. I was here. It looks terrible on white. Let's go back to that. Okay. So this was the flower that we put a level of white work on. Okay. I'm going to put one more layer of white work on very quickly. Not very quickly, but I just want to put another one on just so that you can see. Okay. And I'm going to go just a little bit more heavier. Maybe a little bit too much, too heavy. Okay, but you can see now the difference, can't you? Okay. Definitely a difference between those ones and those ones there. So now we're going to do a little bit of cheaty work. I love cheating. Okay, so a question from Sharon: will the black parchment be coming back, or is it no longer available? Unfortunately, Sharon, the cost of parchment has gone absolutely through the roof with the manufacturers, and in order to keep the price down, we have to order massive parchment. And then when we look at our coloured parchment and designer parchment, we then have to pay for that process to be done as well. So it's a really sort of big investment in order to be able to keep the prices down for everybody at home. So at this moment in time, there's no plans to reintroduce any of the coloured or designer parchment that's currently out of stock, because we have to, as I say, not only is the cost of the clear parchment gone up, but also then the process of applying the colour. So I would say, I mean, watch this space, but at present, there's no plans to reintroduce any of the colours that we've currently run out of. So I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, it's just one of those things, I'm afraid. So, okay, so let's carry on. And we're now going to enhance the white work on this. My coffee is cold. Yuck. I'd forgotten about that. I can't drink cold coffee. So now we're going to take a white pencil. Okay. See, this is my kind. No, it's not. It's not. So now all we're going to do is we're going to colour. I'm just going around in circular motions. Okay. Very, very light. I'm not going on. If I go on heavy like that, yes, I'm going to get a more prominent whiteness, but it's going to be harder to smooth out. Okay, so I'm just going to go on very, very lightly. And then this is where our back in stock blending pens come into play. So I need a clean nib. Now, that one's clean. Now, as top tip, I'm sure it was Glynis, if she's still in the room. Glynis had a top tip. If you want to keep a nib just for white pencil, just take a pen and just mark the base of the nib. Okay, so that, I mean, when you take it out, you know, then that will always be the white one, if you wanted to. I mean, it's entirely up to you. So a question just come in. The color of the parchment I was just using, I think it is the petrol. I think it's petrol. It's definitely not the midnight blue. The midnight blue's more of a dark navy type color. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, remember my spot on sponge I had with some Dorso oil? I'm going to just put some Dorso oil. Should be some still on there. I know it's really warm in this room. So then, there we go. Can you see that? So what we're doing now is we're smoothing out the grains. Yeah, no. But I can take that white pencil again. Where's it gone? I think the groovy gremlins are back in the room. So let's do this one. See, look, I can come over here. You see how it's not moving so well because I went on really heavy with the pressure. But if that's the case, then I can just gently, with the eraser, just soften that up again. Or take it off completely and start again. Okay, so then... And then when the oil's dry, I mean, it doesn't take long for the oil to dry. I can go back in and I can start to add another level of whiteness. Okay. So it's all about having choices. Okay, and so now when I turn this over, you'll see that I'm starting to get the effect of white work, which when you look at this piece here, let's put them side by side. There is a difference between the two, absolutely, because there's been more white work done on it. Who is it was asking about stripes? Okay, on their parchment when they were doing white work. Sometimes you need stripes. Okay, so you see how what Lynn's done and Linda, they've left spaces in between to give the effect of sort of light and shade within the parchment. Okay, so there we go. So thank you, Grace. So it was Lindsay from YouTube who was asking about stripes. Thank you. See, it's great to have my co-pilot in the room, even though she is all the way over in New York. Right, okay. Where has this evening gone? I mean, I struggle with an hour doing Groovy Tuesday, and it's nearly 2 hours. But you know what? We're going to carry on because there's a few more little bits and pieces I'd want to show. I knew, and it's always the same, even when we're on TV and we're demonstrating Groovy, we never, ever, ever get to the end of a project. But hopefully this evening, I've shown you some beautiful artwork from the design team. I've shown you how to create some framework, how to do some different coloring techniques, how to use all different parts of the plates in order, if you want to build up a lovely little petite design. But we're going to carry on because there's still more that I want to show. As long as you're happy to keep me company, I'm not going anywhere. So, yes, Grace. That is very true. Okay, so let's commit. I mean, obviously, you can see the difference. There's a lot more time spent on this and different colors. Linda, for her piece of artwork, she actually used polychromo pencils. And for those of you that have the polychromo pencils, you know that there's a lot more different shade of color in there. But I thought we'd use our Pergolina pencils and Dorso crayons because if you are a club member, it's our product and it's half price. Okay, so let's have a look. So what Linda's done now she's started to introduce some pink into the roses to give that lovely sort of beautiful Christmas rose look. Okay, now in the B pencils of the Percolite, there isn't a pink, but there's a red. So white and red become pink. So all I'm going to do now, I'm going to put my glasses on for a start. I'm just going to flick a little bit of red at the base of that petal. And if I take, where's my blending? I'm sure there's somebody in this room moving everything. There it is. So now what we're going to do, I need a tiny little bit of oil just now to start to turn that red into the white. So I'm using the same technique where I was doing the white work. You know how I was starting at the line and pushing away and lifting up. So I'm doing the same technique when I'm sort of blending that red out to turn it into a pink. Can you see? Yeah, you can see that, can't you? Okay, Jane, Mrs. Pink Lady, says B14 fuchsia. Why have I got that missing from my stash? Let me have a look. Oh no, I've got B14. There you go, B14. Should we give it a go? Why not? So let's put the B14. See, I did this the other week and Jane helped me out. To get pink, I automatically go red and white makes pink. But there was the fuchsia. And what was the other colour, Jane, that you told me made a really nice pink on that card that we did in Groovy Tuesday? Night, night, Josie. See you soon. Lovely to have your company as always and your expert advice. Oh, yes. No, Jane, you're right. Of course you're right. That B14 is nicer than the red. B13, it's like we're talking in code. What was the B13, Jay? B4. Oh, I've got all my pencils out of the box. Where's my B13? Hang on. B13. No, the week before that, the B13 is sort of like a burgundy red. You know, Jane, when I was doing that card the other week, the one that I gave away, I'm sure it's the one I gave away. And I went red and white, and you said, no, there's another one that gave me another colour. The dark pink, what was it? Can't think. It'll come to it. Was it the B14? Was it? Was it really? Maybe that was weeks ago. Okay. Thank you, Jane. Okie doke. See, I'm glad there's experts in the room. Yeah, I'm glad there's experts in the room to put me right or to share. We're sharing, aren't we? We're sharing our knowledge. And Jane, if you can see Jane's little avatar on her comments, you can see she has lovely pink hair. So when it comes to pinks, Jane is the one to ask. So if I turn this over now, so you can see how we're starting to build it. I mean, it looks terrible, does it, on the white? Of course it does. But there you go. So you can start to see how we're starting to get some colour into those roses. Now, another top tip to enhance that, if you take your pencil and you take a sharpener, to make sure I open it the right way, and you get a really sharp point on your pencil. Okay, and then what you can do, lightly, on the back, you can sort of just very light flicks out. Now in time, yes, Glynis, I know you bought all your B Pencil singles in the member sale because I printed off your order. I thought, oh, there's Glynis. She's running out on a few colours. So she topped up on the singles. Great idea. And especially at half price as well. Okay. So now you can sort of start to build up and intensify that colour. So when we look at the piece of artwork here that Linda's done, she's done exactly the same on the back using a darker blue. I'll show you here. So what Linda's done, she's just taken a blue pencil. There's definitely gremlins in this room. And now it looks as if Linda has used a ruler to do that, but it's 9 o'clock and I'm not getting the ruler out at 9 o'clock. I can get the ruler. The ruler's just close by. So we have another question come in. Let's have a look what Grace is saying. Okay. What's the question? So a question from question. It's like questions and answers, isn't it? But that's what we're here for. If we can help, absolutely. Hang on. Question from Sharon. What is the difference between the parchment paper and the translucent paper on the Pergamano translucent paper on our website? Okay, it can be used in the same way as parchment. Back in the day, Pergamano had various different types of parchment, and they sometimes it can get lost in translation between languages. But the translucent paper, if I remember rightly, let me see if I can just, while we're having a look at that, let me see if I can, I'm going to jump. I hope I don't lose you. No, I think you'll still be there. Are you still there? Yeah, you're still there. Yes. So I've just brought up another page to see what it tells me on our website. It would be quicker for me just to have a look at the product. Translucent. Okay. Yes, right. Okay, so it's still the same weight as our parchment. Oh, let me bring you back into view. Hang on. It's the same weight, so it's 150 G7. I think it's just it was just another word. I think they tried to give it a different name rather than say coloured parchment. They called it translucent parchment. So it will work in the same. I think you can take the colour out. Maybe one of the ladies that used it previously, Glynis or Josie. I know Josie's gone now. Glynis, can you recall whether the translucent parchment from Pergamano was the same as our coloured parchment, whether you can lift the colour out? Because I haven't actually used it. I could pop into the warehouse and get it, but I may lose the connection. I don't have any in here. I can always find out on Monday and let Grace know. Grace, if you remind me, I'm sure I'll have some somewhere that I can test. But because I've never used it, because we've always had our coloured parchment, and it was stock that we inherited when we bought Pergamano. But maybe Glynis or some. Okay, Glynis is saying yes, you can lift the colour out, and Jane's trying some now. See, I don't have to go to the warehouse now, which is only along the corridor. But I may. It's dark now, so okay. So Glynis says you can lift the colour out, and Jane is trying some. So there you go. Hope that answers. But I know the stock we do have, once that has gone definitely, because it was a product to say that we when we bought Pergamano, it came with it. And because we had our own coloured parchment at the time, there was no need to order more of that particular product. So, and Jane says, yes, you can. Thank you. See, technology is great, isn't it? And especially when you've got the ladies at home that have got all the product. So, but as I say, once that has gone, just like the coloured, well, the Pergamano translucent paper will definitely never come back. The coloured parchment may come back, but at this point in time, it won't be any time soon, I'm afraid. Okay, so you can see now how we can start to reintroduce the colour and make it a little bit more prominent. So if I take, it's going to look rubbish, I know, hang on, but you can see the effect, can't you? Okay, so Jane said it's flooded on one side exactly the same and the eraser removed it. That's great to know. That's given me some ideas. No, too late in the day for ideas on a Friday night at 9 o'clock. Not good. Right, okay. We're nearly done. For those of you that are hanging in there that haven't fallen asleep, just a few more things to show you, if you want me to. I don't have to, but I'm here now, so. Right, okay. What do I want to show you next? I mean, I suppose in a way, it would be nice to sort of talk through what else has been done. Bring it into view. Now, this piece of artwork here that Linda and Lynn have created, they've used a 2-needle bold tool to go all the way around the outside to perforate. If I get a black piece of card, I can hear that rain coming down again. If I take, you see that, the perforate, the picot cutting around the edge. So Lynn has done that using a 2-needle tool and then picot cut. Now, as I said earlier, we have our nested square picot dies, which will do exactly the same, no skill required, and a lot more quickly. Okay, but maybe, excuse me, just grab a mouthful of drink. Bear with me for a moment, sorry. Okay, maybe you're not into your die cutting. Maybe you haven't gone that far on with your picot cutting, or maybe you can't get the hang of picot. You can still cut it down to size. There's a couple of ways of doing that. So me personally, I'm a guillotine person over a paper trimmer, but I do like a nice craft knife. Okay, so let me just dig out my craft knife. I know it's here somewhere. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Bear with. I bet it's in my bag. I bet it's in my Pergamano tool organizer. Did I put it back? Of course I didn't. Why would I put it back in there? There it is. Okay. So to trim your work down, as I say, I could put the picot square die around that and cut it out. I could perforate all the way around the outside and picot cut. I could use a guillotine or a paper trimmer to trim it. But for me, I'm going to go with a craft knife and a ruler. So we've got our Pergamano ruler, and the Pergamano ruler has groovy grip on the back. Let me zoom out a little. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out so we can get a bigger picture. There we go. So let me show you something. You've probably seen it, but for those that haven't, let me share it with you. Okay, Pergamano ruler, steel edge on one side and a lovely beveled edge on the other. in centimeters, you've got your center point there. Now, if I put it on parchment and I take my craft knife, blades in, and I go like that, I always cut towards me. Okay. Now, when I'm doing that, you can see how it can move. See how slippy parchment is. With the introduction of this special groovy grip, which I've trimmed down to the same width as the ruler, it's not sticky at all, not sticky at all. But what it does, look, moves the parchment, but the ruler is not slipping on the parchment. Okay, so I'm a lot more confident using a craft knife on parchment. Okay, so I'm going to take my craft knife, and some people can be afraid of using a craft knife, and I totally get that, because sometimes people think that you've got to cut through whatever it is you're cutting with one pass of the knife. Okay, you don't. I can still get, with less pressure, you know how we were talking about tracing out the line art? Okay. If I just keep going over, light pressure, it's going to cut the parchment or my cards or whatever it is I want to cut. But for me, I find that I have more control with a knife. Okay, so let me just keep going. I'm not putting any real pressure, and I'm definitely not worried about that ruler moving. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep going until it's cut. Okay, I go round and I'll do this side, and just for speed, I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on, and I'm going to cut it in one. So it's all about having choices, and it's great to have this steel edge on the Pergamano ruler and the groovy grip. I'm not worried about the ruler slipping into my artwork. Okay. I also have a piece of the groovy grip, because it comes in an A4 sheet. I put it on top of on the light panel, and then when I've got my plates on there, it stops the plate sliding around as well while you're working. Let's have a look. Deborah, I had a look on the website today, but couldn't find groovy grip on its own without the ruler. Did I just miss it? Do you sell it separately? I'm sure we do. So I'm sure Grace will have a look for that for you. Yeah, there we go. Grace has popped that up for you. I thought, yeah, we would sell it separately. Well, I would expect we would sell it separately, yeah, and Grace has just confirmed that. So there we go, Deborah. And if I'm right, if you're a club member, that would also be half price. What a perfect time to do a craft along for our craft club members, because as I say, a lot of the products I've used this evening are in our club member sale. So perfect timing, that's all I say. Okay, so this is my piece. So a little bit wishy-washy because of the colours I've used. Linda's, to get that lovely sort of white work to really stand out, you do want to go darker with your colour. Okay, so but I just wanted to show the comparisons between the two. Depending, I can go back, I can still build up that colour because I haven't finished. I can go back in, I can build it up. I can go for a darker blue. I can mix my colours on the mix mat, or I can just go straight in with a blue or whatever colour parchment I wanted to. Okay, but I thought it was a good way just to start off with a clear piece of parchment and show how we can build it up. Yeah, but I had to think to myself, what am I talking about? It's got to that stage in the day now where I'm talking, but I'm not hearing what I'm saying. So I could be saying absolutely anything, and in my head, it makes sense. But if you're watching at home, thinking, what is he doing? Okay. So I think for this evening, I've really enjoyed it. I really, really have enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy my Groovy Tuesdays, but to spend a little bit more time, and you'll never ever, I could have started at 4 o'clock this afternoon and we could still be going at midnight on some projects. So it was all about sort of showcasing the first collection from Linda Williams using her layering frames. Now the next launch, which has a different theme, this one has had Christmas. The next one launches on the 27th of July, part of the Noon exclusive. So it'll be exclusive to the TV for the Thursday and the Friday, and then available on our website on the Saturday. And it's a different theme this time, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to be naughty and say that you have to tune in. I mean, I'll give you some sneaky peeks on the Tuesday before. So 26 on the 25th of June. No, July. Where are we? July. I don't know. July. On the 25th of July, if you tune into Groovy Tuesday, I will definitely give you a sneaky peek of what is coming up on that Thursday. And I've seen all the sets that Linda has prepared for the next 5 months, and it's a stunning collection. And the reason we release them on a monthly basis is because Linda's been working on these for months and months and months, and it's all about the price point. And there'll be some designs that you'll like, some designs you won't like. And so to release them all at the same time would be a lot of money. And as I say, some you may like, some you may not. So it's like one of those, back in the day, you used to collect a magazine every month, or it's the same thing. And so you've got those choices if you want them. Maybe you think, oh, I'll give this month a miss and I'll see what the next one is, and you can go back. The Noon exclusive price is only held until the next one is released. So at the moment on our website, the Noon exclusive is at the same price it's been since it launched. However, when it comes to the 27th of July, the price will increase on this collection, and obviously the new one will be cheaper. And because we only launched this last month, it isn't included in the half price club member sale. So anything new we released in June and July is excluded from the club member sale, because obviously it'd be a little bit unfair. We've just released something, everyone's paid the special price or the full price, and then all of a sudden it's half price. So that's the way that we've always done our club member sale, that if anything's been released sort of a month and a half prior, we don't include that in the club member sale. So if you're looking at this as a club member and you're thinking, well, it's not coming up as half price, that would be the reason why. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I know I have. And thank you to the lovely Grace for sending me loads of messages and questions. I hope I've been able to help. Thank you to the design team that have been in the room. I saw Carol Baker was in the room. So Jane, Josie, Glynis, anybody I've missed, I apologise, because all the names were going up way too quickly. And if you've just tuned in, where have you been? But don't forget, you can always go back and watch this one, any of the previous craft alongs, with the previous collection of the Christmas treasures. You've got all the Shack recordings in there, all the Groovy Tuesday. I'm sure Grace will pop a link up to the Clarity YouTube page, because you can get lost for days and weeks just watching video after video after video. And it's from groovy to stamping to using the jelly plate, to using the brayer, how to use stencils, how to use the stencil brushes. It really is. Back in the day, before I joined Clarity, Barbara, that I'm aware of, was one of the first people to have a regular video on YouTube, and they're all free. It was called YouTube Tuesday. So every week or every couple of weeks on a Tuesday, there would always be a new tutorial. And you can go back and watch those. And when you see that what Barbara did back then is still current now, is amazing. And hopefully all of these groovy ones in the years to come, 10, 20, 15 years, that was weird, 10, 20 years, whatever, will still be just as valuable and useful. So don't forget, club members sale half price is on until not Monday, but the Monday after. What else have we got? Check out the Clarity Matters blog on a Saturday tomorrow at 8 o'clock. On Saturday and Sunday, there's a new post on the Clarity Matters blog every Saturday. On a Saturday, it's a Saturday share where Grace shares lots of our friends' artwork. And on a Sunday, there's always a step-by-step tutorial, whether it be groovy, whether it be stamping. Most of them are parchment craft related, but then next month, August, we're going more stampy and inky. And the design team do a fantastic job, and so does Grace, putting it all together. And again, they're all free. You can go back and read them again and again and again. So I think it sounds like the Oscars, doesn't it? I'd just like to say thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. And so Barb's in the shack on Monday at 10 o'clock. So I'll be in the room with you then. And then Groovy Tuesday on Tuesday. Then what else we got? I think that's it, just to start off the week nice and easy. So take it easy, and I will see you again soon. Night, night.